Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into my book chat. I'm host Melanie McAllister, and I'm so glad you're tuning in live or watching the replay. You can find my book chat lives and replays on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and now LinkedIn. I want to give a special shout out to the Alice Keeler Teacher Tech and EduMatch Facebook communities who we are live streaming through tonight. For this book chat, I have a very special guest. Dr. Sarah Thomas is the CEO and founder of the EduMatch community, which is global and includes a publishing company and philanthropic branches as well. She's a regional technology coordinator in her district. She has co-written and contributed to quite a few books over the years, but tonight she is here to talk about her first solo written book called Sarahdateechur's Guide to Podcasting, a little something for educators who want to get started or level up. Dr. Thomas is one of my SHEros, and I have gone live with her many times. But having her on my book chat is so special as she has supported myself and many others to help our publishing dreams be realized in authoring books. Congratulations, Dr. Thomas, on your newest book. It's a quick read that offers valuable information on getting your own podcast started. She takes the overwhelm out, replacing first steps with attainable to-dos, and encourages us to put our authentic messages out there while sharing with a community who is ready to support. Doc, it's good to see you tonight. How are you? And can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, my friend, for having me on tonight. I am just super excited. I've been looking forward to this all week. And I see Aaron in the comments. What is up, Aaron? Yes, so super excited to be here. So as you said, my name is Sarah, and I'm an educator first and foremost. And I really enjoy connecting with other educators. So if we're not already connected, y'all see my Twitter and all social information at Sarahdateechur, so please connect there. But I'm super, super excited to connect and to chat tonight. So again, thank you so much for having me on here, Melody. And hello to Frank from Pittsburgh.
Hey, Frank and Aaron. So glad that you were joining it. Okay, I forgot to ask this question, so I'm just going to ask you, how did you come up with Sarahdateechur? Because like literally that's your brand now. It's on your book. You will always be Sarahdateechur.
All right, so this is the I'll try to give you the short version, but I was at a conference, and I had a Twitter, but it was mostly to watch VH1 and interact with Flavor Flav and Bret Michaels. So they had a hashtag. This was back in 2013, by the way, dating myself. So this was 10 years ago. So I was sitting here at the conference, and they had the hashtag, and I was just like, I want to tweet with these people, but I don't want them seeing like my little ratchet account. So I said, okay, I'm going to just create a brand new Twitter account, and I'm just going to go ahead and use it and start communicating with people. And I picked Sarahdateechur because for two reasons. Well, actually, mainly one reason, because it was phonetic, Sarahdateechur, and that was how a lot of my students kind of text typed. And in addition, I was in a dissertation. I was doing my dissertation at the time, and I was doing it on English acquisition, and a lot of it is phonetic. So I was just like, let me just kind of riff off of that a little bit too. So it was kind of dual purpose.
I love it. I love it. And now that's how we know you. I know your handle by heart. Like I've known it for years. I never have to search it. So I love it. That's great.
Thank
So
you.
you have been podcasting for a while, but why did you decide to write this book?
Yes. So the reason I decided to write this book, my podcasting journey started back in like 2007 when I started doing it with students, when I found out about it through our district technology training team, which is now where I work. But I wasn't there back in 2007, 2008. But anyway, so I was I started working with students and teaching them how to podcast. And then eventually, when EduMatch began back in 2014, then there were members of the community, specifically Tammy Neal, Amanda Lanisek, and Melissa Eddington, who were saying, hey, why not do a podcast? So went ahead, did the very first EduMatch podcast, and then after that, just kind of expanded my journey. Well, I should first say that we have over 100, maybe close to 200 EduMatch episodes. And then after that, started adjuncting in a master's in ed tech program, and I did a podcast for my students in that program. And last but not least, started kicking off our district podcast, which is has recently made a resurgence. We're currently focusing on digital citizenship to get the word out to the district. So that's kind of been my podcasting journey, and it's been a great way for me to not only share my thoughts and share my voice, but also to learn, like by
Yeah.
bringing guests on and hearing their journeys and things of that nature. Then I've learned so much. I've been a fly on the wall for some amazing conversations. And so I just wanted to share that with folks. We had a course on Thinkific about community podcasting with your PLN. So I took the transcript for that and just kind of gussied it up a little bit and wrote this book in about 3 days from the transcript.
Wow.
So that's just
Okay. We're gonna jump ahead. I had some, but you said it first. Also, you cut out, but your first podcast was Tweet and Talk, right? Is that what you said? It cut out.
yeah, the first one that I did. Yeah.
Okay. So this is the hot topic right now among actually not even just among educators. Everybody's going crazy. Everybody's using Chat GPT. You just said it. How did you use Chat GPT to write your book?
Yes. So ChatGPT is like my new best friend with caution. It's like the best friend that you side eye a little bit. So with ChatGPT, then what I really loved about it is that um like the book, when I transcribed the audio from the course, then it was still very, very short. Oh, thank you, Frank. Appreciate it. Yeah, it was extremely short. And so I asked Chat GPT, hey, what would you add if you were me? I didn't say it that way, but I was just like, what's missing from here? And it gave me some suggestions. So what I did is that, I would go back and I would add more based on what it said. Also, ChatGPT kind of exploded right after the very first draft. So I had run it through the focus group and I got some fantastic suggestions about things to add and places to go. So ChatGPT, I asked it its suggestions about those areas as well. And so it helped to give me some context. And this is not the only book I've used ChatGPT to help me out with. I've also used it to write the opening and the conclusion of EduSnap 22, which just came out at the end of the
Ooh.
year. So we just kind of co-wrote it together, and I've had it help me with some blog posts as well. So really love ChatGPT. It's a
Yes,
it's a
you
really
are
cool
using
tool.
it. You are using it, and I agree, Aaron, that there is no one that could be just like Dr. Sarah Thomas. But I love how you use
Thank
it. You've
you.
been showing us all kind of like guiding us into this new territory, helping us, those of us who may not feel as comfortable to dive in, just how to do it. And so I wanted to mention that because I thought it was really interesting and you talk about it in your book. So kudos to you. Something I also want to
Thank
know is
you.
you talk about this in your book, but you have been listening to podcasts for years. So I'm curious, and I have a feeling that you don't just listen to like educational podcasts, but I want to know what your favorite podcasts are, or maybe your favorite podcasters, or why did you even just dive into podcasts? Like, why is this your thing?
Oh yeah, like I love podcasts because you can listen to them while you're doing anything else. Like while I'm at the gym, well, not anymore because I'm at a different gym where you can't listen to podcasts. But
What?
as I was working out, yeah, yeah. Well, I go to Orange Theory and there's like a coach that tells you what to do,
Oh,
so you have to listen and follow directions and stuff. But when I was going to like a different gym, I would listen to podcasts as I was lifting or doing cardio or whatever, or even jogging out on the road. And I also like to listen to it in the car. I like to listen to it when I'm doing dishes, like to listen to it when I'm making bottles, things of that nature. So right now I have about maybe 400 or so podcasts that are on my list. And I would say probably a quarter to a half of them are educational. And the rest of them are just kind of regular general information or based on some other habits I may have.
some
So
habits you may
let me
have.
see. In terms of my favorite podcast, then thank you, Frank. Thank you so much for your comment. My favorite podcasters, that's so hard because there are so many. I want to definitely give a huge shout out to Dr. Will.
Mhm.
His podcast, Dr. Will Show, I'm always learning something new, and some of his guests, I've actually connected with them and started working with them, and I found like some great people, like our finance person, he was a guest on the Dr. Will Show, so we're now using his company. And I feel like it's kind of right up my alley in terms of where my interests lie, like the intersection of education and entrepreneurship. So if I were to shout one out, I'll just shout one out for right now because otherwise we'll be here all night. Then I would shout out Dr. Will.
I'm so glad that you mentioned Dr. Will because he was literally the first podcast that I ever listened to. So, yes, awesome. Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah, and I just recorded an episode with him, and I think that was one of the most fun episodes that I've ever done. So, yeah, kudos to you, Dr. Will. I hope you're watching. And if you're watching and you have a favorite podcast, we would love to know what you're listening to right now. Um, wh- when do you listen to podcasts? Have maybe you've never listened to a podcast. Maybe you don't even understand or get the why people do. I will say I like short podcasts. I feel like Dr. Joy puts out a good podcast. It's real short, and I like her podcast. I
Yes.
tend to, and you said this in your book, if it's long, I have to put it on really fast. Like I don't have the patience to listen to a really long podcast. How
Yeah.
how long
Yeah.
how long do you think is
Totally.
the
I feel
sweet
you on
spot
that.
for a podcast, Dr. Thomas?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say like it really varies on the podcast and what you're trying to do with it. But as a listener, I like to listen to podcasts that are 15 minutes or less. And I still do speed them up. I
Yeah.
still, I still listen to them at 3 times speed, all of them. Like, it doesn't matter how long or short they are, but, um, my attention span is not very good, I so, so that's why I like to speed them up so I can get, like, most of the message, before my mind starts doing 50 million other things, but I mean, really, it depends on the content of the podcast, like, longer podcasts that hold my attention, I can listen to them all day, so yeah, so it depends.
Yeah. And what you said, I listen to podcasts when I work out too. But so
Yeah.
we have a mutual friend, Kyle Anderson. The beer edu what is it? The beer edu podcast?
Yeah, Beer EDU, yeah,
Beer
yeah.
edu. You say edu, I say
Yeah.
edu. Potato, potato. But I used to listen to his and Ben Dick is it Dickinson's when I would work out because his was long. And so Dr. Will's too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would when I was on the treadmill, and obviously I haven't been on the treadmill for a while, so I have a lot of episodes to catch up on. Um, Another thing that you mentioned in your book, and also because you are a community builder, like you're an amazing, like a global community builder with EduMatch,
Uh-huh.
and
Thanks.
you talk about this. How important or why is community so important in podcasting?
Yeah, totally. Like your community, when it comes to podcasting or anything that you're doing, really is just so important because I mean that's who you're here to serve as a podcaster, and that you can get so much knowledge from your community, making connections among your community, empowering members of your community who will in turn empower you. So I mean, it's just like a huge source of energy. And when EduMatch does a podcast, then I really like to draw guests from the community and kind of leave it open so that anybody who wants to sign up and has something to say can pop on and say what they want to share. And I mean, obviously you're going to vet them. You don't want like there's some wild people out there, but
Yes.
like some wild trolls that could just randomly jump on. So we have a couple of pre-screening questions to make sure that the person is actually an educator and a member of the EduMatch community. But definitely activating the community and having community members share their insight. And speaking of that, I see another great member of
Yes.
our EduMatch community who is recently of our yeah recently on our AI podcast. This is bringing the heat. So hello, Rochelle. Hello,
Rochelle's
hello.
been bringing the heat for AI for years. So this is awesome. And
Yes,
Rochelle has her
indeed.
own podcast. Rochelle, drop your podcast. Aaron, if you're still doing your caffeinated podcast, or if you just want to put it out there, drop a link. If you're watching, drop a link, or if you watch the replay, it'll still be in the comments, and we would love to put that along. I will probably blog after this, and I'll include your podcasts in this, which you also recommend. You get so much usage out of podcasts, Dr. Sarah, and you talk about that in your book as well. So, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure, absolutely. So, one thing that I really love when it comes to creating content is repurposing the content. And I mean, the book was written and pretty much ready to drop right before you had this new wave of AI, like AI everywhere, right? I mean, there
Hmm.
was AI before that, but now it's AI everywhere, started, people really started paying attention with Chat GPT. And then after that, all of a sudden you have all of these new tools powered by GPT-3, GPT-4, blah, blah, blah. So now there are like, oh my goodness, I'm getting so carried away. I even forgot the question.
I do I do
But
that too. I do that too. I'm so glad you did that, because I do that all
yeah.
the time and I feel terrible. But you talk about repurposing your material. So, like, I could drop this, make it into a podcast. You talk about, because we're on live on StreamYard, and I don't think a lot
Yes.
of people know that you don't, like, you could either do the sound, but you're like, get the most out of your buck, get the bang out of your buck. You talk
Yes.
about that. And that's one thing that you preach about in
Yes.
your course as well.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you so much. Now I kind of remember where I was about to go with that. So
I know, I'm sorry, it's
there's
my
some
fault.
no, this is good. This is good. You helped bring me back. So cuz I was about to just go off and just, go out in left field, but hey, I see Doc is in the house, and thank you, Rochelle, for
Yes.
your comment about
Well, I'm gonna bring up
the
Rochelle's comment in just a second, but yes.
yes, indeed. Much love.
And it's
But
okay, because I didn't prep you for that. I just threw it out there because I just know that because I've been following you for a long time, and you are
yeah,
always giving out great tips, and that's one of them.
thank you so
So,
much. Yeah, there's this tool that I'm using now called Pictory, which has like some AI functionality as well, but it has like something in there where you can just upload it. You upload like the audio and it gives you back, the transcription. I know in the book I talked about Rev, I talked about Temi, but there's the script, and then like it'll auto transcribe it for you. There's Fireflies, that AI, and these tools
mhm.
do a lot more than just the transcription, but they do the transcription. Those are tools that you can use for transcription, and you can take that and create it into a blog post. And I mean, if you
Yes.
really want to get fancy with it, then you can take that transcript, run it through Chat
Mhm.
GPT and say, hey, make it readable, make it like in a friendly tone and blah blah blah. And then take that and post that on the site. So I mean, there's just so much that you can do now. And it's crazy. Like even though the book's only been out for like 2 weeks, then already there's so much more that could be added to it about just like with this whole new wave of tools that we see coming out over the last few weeks.
Well, and I agree, but at the same time, like, it could also be really overwhelming, especially if you're just trying to decide that you want to do a podcast. You give the right amount of
Yeah.
tools and kind of the right amount so that people don't feel overwhelmed. So that's why I like that your book is short, because if you felt like, number one, just to say, hey, I'm going to put my message out there. Oh, but then I have to read a really thick book. Like, forget it. Who has time for
Yeah.
that? So,
Yeah, I appreciate you.
yeah, so I think it's
That's a good
perfect.
point. Thank you.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
technology is
thank you
always
for
gonna
putting that in
change.
context.
You could have a new edition next year if you wanted to, right? But I love Rochelle says
Yeah,
this, "I was
that
reading
is
part of
true.
your book to my 8th graders who are creating their own podcast." I love that. Rochelle and I are actually gonna be talking about that at
Ooh.
ISTE Live this coming year, or this coming summer, so that's great. And I was thinking about that too. I've been pitching to the principal that I'm working for right now about having a class of podcasters. That's one of our electives, and I was definitely going to use this as a resource. So, yes, thank
Oh,
you,
nice.
Rochelle, and thank you for Doc for joining
Thank
in.
you.
It's come to the time where it's my favorite part of the book chat, and that's where I ask the authors or the author to read aloud their favorite part of their book. And I love this because I know Dr. Sarah Thomas, so I know I can hear her speaking. I literally felt like when I was reading this, I heard your voice. But if you don't know Dr. Sarah Thomas, you've never heard it in her voice. So this is one of my favorite parts so that we can hear it in the author's voice. And I'll shut up. But yeah, tell us what you're going to read.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I am going to read starting on page 4. Why podcast? And Simon Sinek always says start with the why. So I figure, this might be a good reason or a good place to start. Like why? Like somebody who's new to podcasting might be like, why do I want to do this? So I'll read a little bit from here. Hey, Erin. Yes, you're in my head as well. Yeah, Erin. Oh my goodness, Erin is a fantastic podcaster, by the way. Yes, indeed. Okay, so here we go. Why podcast? So at the time of this writing, I've been an educator for 18 years. I also run an organization called EduMatch, which facilitates grassroots connections among educators around the world. One of the branches of EduMatch is a publishing company where we have published nearly 100 books and counting. Many times, prospective authors approach me and say they have a story that they would like to write, but they think nobody will want to read it because there are other books on the same topic. My advice to them is always other people may have shared, but nobody will tell the story quite like you will. We all have unique perspectives shaped by our backgrounds, life experiences, and other factors. Perhaps the way that you share your knowledge will resonate with someone in a way that is unmatched by anything else they have encountered. The same can be said about podcasting. So should I continue or stop right there? Continue?
Sorry, I
Okay.
muted
All
myself.
right.
Yeah, keep going. I like it.
Podcasting. All right. Cool. Cool. Podcasting, in essence, is sharing through audio and or video. It's just another way to share a story, not much different than blogging. As a matter of fact, podcasting can complement blogging and book writing very well, as we will see in Module 6. But what about on the consumer side? Allow me to get a little bit geeky with some statistics. According to Ruby 2022, there are more than 2 million podcasts globally with nearly 400 million listeners. Over 28% of the US population listens to podcasts weekly, on average, listening to 8 shows. Wow, that's a lot. Now, I have to tell you, it's probably about 8 a day for me. And now I can say it's probably more than that because I just tapped into a new network that I'm listening to as well. Yeah, but
That's incredible.
that I'll stop right there.
So what actually I made it I can't remember what you said, but why did you decide to dive into podcasts, when you were younger? Oh, it was your students. It was
Yeah,
your
yeah,
students.
yeah. We were introduced to it. The team that I currently work on, we're in charge of leading technology integration in the district. So they had a sharing technology with educators program, and they had like 4 areas of innovation that they covered. Podcasting was one of them, and that was extremely innovative at the time. Like it was brand spanking new, and that was my intro into it. So
I love
yeah,
that.
so did it
I've
with my
heard
students, and they loved it.
I've heard that some people are saying that podcasting is like on its way out the door. Do you believe that?
Nah, not for a second. Because I mean, if you look at that one stat by Ruby, oh man, I done lost the page. But 28% of the US population listens to podcasts weekly. And this is as of last year. So it's not going anywhere for a while. It's gonna be here. It has waves, like sometimes it goes, sometimes podcasting drops off, but then it comes back, and then it drops off, then it comes back. Like I remember maybe like 2016, 2017, there was like a huge wave of podcasting with Serial, um, like Serial, This American Life, stuff like that, and people were following and things of that nature, and then it went away for a little while. And I think that now with like all of these tools that are making podcasts easier and easier to do, that more and more people will start creating their own podcast episodes, and that's going to bring in a lot of novelty, a lot of freshness. I think it's probably going to have another resurgence.
Yeah. I love that. Dr. Denise Furlong says, I love using podcasts in my grad courses. So powerful to hear the voices of the experts. Agreed.
Yes,
And
indeed.
honestly, I know some people say that like there's not really such a thing as a learning method, like a preferred learning thing. I don't know. I disagree. I love auditory. I can listen to things. So like for me to hear it, it gets gelled in my brain a little bit more. So that's one of the reasons why I like
Mhm.
podcasts. And But I think it's a good way just for anybody to tell the story of anything. And one thing too that really struck me in your book is that I never considered my book chat a podcast, but now I'm wondering because I don't dump it into like a listening. Do you consider this a podcast, my book chat? Or does it have to be
Absolutely.
both?
I do. I feel like this is like yeah, yeah, it's a live video, podcast. Because when I was doing my dissertation, um, I broke down the acronym of the pod in podcasting, found that originally it was supposed to stand for portable on demand. So if
Ooh.
you have a show that's portable and that's on demand, then that's a podcast. So, you have audio podcasts, you have video podcasts.
I love that. I thought it was just like a broadcast, but I want to tell you that the reason I even do this is because you helped encourage me and gave me a voice to do that. Like if our lives had not connected, I would not be doing this right now. Seriously. So thank you.
Oh,
And you call me the
I
stream queen.
appreciate you. And likewise, like I've learned so much from you. I'm sorry, what did you say? Oh, Stream
No,
Queen. Yes, that is
yeah.
you. You are the Stream Queen.
Well,
So
you
thank
gave
you
that
so
to
much.
me. It's from you. Like you've really like this is why this is so
Oh,
special
no,
to
no, that
me.
was all within you.
Well, like sometimes people just need
Oh,
help getting their
that's
voices
cool.
out there. You've done that for me personally, but I also think that people that pick up your book, they may be thinking maybe the first is like, why would I ever consider a podcast? But a lot of us have something inside of us they want to share. Like we're just sharers, you know. We may not be like, I'm pretty extroverted,
Yeah,
you're pretty introverted. It doesn't matter. There's a lot of us that have messages, and it's a great
yeah,
way to relate with people. So if you're like, I've wanted to do a
absolutely.
podcast or I want to explore, I really, really do recommend Sarah Teacher's Guide to Podcasting. And I have a feeling that this
You.
is not your last book. Do you
Oh,
have something that's
no.
coming up?
Yeah. Yeah, there's like a whole series of Sarah the Teacher's Guide too. So I have, I planned them all out. It's just a matter of executing on them. A lot of them are already, they're already courses or they're already, transcribed, and they just need to be formatted and maybe added to. So I'm hoping to get a series out. We'll see exactly how many I can crank out, but yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. I really love doing this. So
I love it. Oh, I can't wait to see what comes next. And it's again,
thank
this is
you.
something that you say at day one, especially to your authors: repurpose, repurpose, repurpose. And you're doing that. You're practicing what you preach. I love it.
Yeah,
So, and I don't know if you saw these comments come in.
thank you.
Um, but Aaron says Dr. Sarah has given a voice
Oh,
to numerous countless, and that's true. It's true, you know. And yes,
thank you
Sarah the
so
Teacher
much.
series. Yes, that might
Oh,
be a
thank you.
hashtag. But I think that you
Oh
spelled it
yes,
wrong, Sarah,
yes.
is all I'm
I'm
saying.
looking forward to it. Oh,
All
yeah,
right,
no,
we're
I
getting
appreciate
close.
it. Thank you so much. I gotta stay accountable though.
Yeah. Well, I'll help you. I'll be like, "Hey, what's next? What's next?" Um, I know we're getting close to our time to
All
say
right,
goodbye, but
appreciate that.
what is some wisdom that you would like to share today? It can be about podcasting or it can be about anything that's just on your mind, but I always want my guests because and just like you, like when we have guests on our podcast, our broadcasts, our live streams, we actually build a platform. And I think it's really important to let people, if they have something that's burning on their mind that they want to share, I think that's one of the best things that we can do. And this is one of the best things as a podcast or broadcast. So what is some wisdom you'd like to share today, Dr. Sarah Thomas?
Yeah, I would just kind of circle back to what we were saying earlier. Everybody has something inside of them. They have a story, they have life experience, they have something. Everyone has a voice, So podcasting is a great way to share it. If podcasting is not your thing, then there's other ways that you can put your voice out there, but sharing is caring. We should all connect and learn and grow from one another. So that would just be my final 2 cents that I would have for everybody. And I just wanted to also say thank you so much, Melody, for having me on today. This was awesome to connect with you, and thank you to everybody for tuning in and for all of the love and support. And I'm sending it right back. So I appreciate you all.
Yeah, it's been an honor to have you on tonight, Dr. Sarah Thomas. I appreciate you and I appreciate everybody that's chimed in. You guys make it so much more special. This because of the community that you have helped build and create that we are part together. Dr. Sarah Thomas talks about professional learning family, and you guys showed up tonight. So that's so wonderful. And a lot of you are teachers, and we're recording this during Teacher Appreciation Week. So thank you so much for everything you do. Dr. Sarah Thomas is also a leader in education. So she practices everything that she's preaching. Oh, we got comments coming in. Yes, yes. Thank you, Frank. And Aaron says amazingly. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining. And I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Yes. Yes. You keep rocking too. And before I say goodbye, something, if you love books, if you love authors, make sure to go. And I think I was actually your first review, your first 5-star review, Dr. Sarah Thomas. I think I was the first one. It said on Amazon, be the first to review. So I did that today. If you love an author, if you love the book, go and give them a
Yay!
5-star review. That's how you show love and support, and it's free. All right, everybody, take care. I hope to be back here next week, and I'll see you again soon. Bye. All right, here's my outro. It's
Bye,
always hard to get the
everybody.
outro, but here we go. Here's my outro.